Okay, hey guys, we are live. Hold on. I don't think I have my my setup the same way that I usually do. I should probably have my other screen have the chat on it. That way I'm not switching back and forth between my face and you guys, because I need to be vain and see myself. So let me get that set up real quick, and then we can jump into it. Shoot, where am I? Over here. As you can tell, I am a professional. YouTube Studio. For some reason, my live events haven't been showing up in my own feed, and I'm having to go through the studio to get to them. If you guys that are subscribed to me, do they show up in your feed, or do you only see them because I throw the links up on Twitter and Discord? I don't know how it works. I don't know why it's not showing up for me, but I figure it might show up for you guys if you're subscribed to me. I guess I can't subscribe to myself. Shoot, where are my live events? This is what you guys are here for, right? The minutia of behind the scenes. And real fast, let me I need to mute this. That way I'm not causing audio feedback. And here we go. Okay. I think we're good. Yeah. Okay. Tight. We're good. Who all's in here before I start reading? Let me see. So we got that boy. We got ATM fall off boy. There's two boys in here, and they both spell it differently. You guys have to fight to see which boy is the real boy. Here comes the weird book. Perfect timing. So there was okay. So yeah, let me see. So the recap so far. We started off in the prologue at a antique shop that Simon Rose is the security guard at. I don't know why they need security guards at antique shops. Every antique shop I've ever been to is just someone hanging out at the counter, but that's neither here nor there. He was there one night, and I guess this golden box was doing some weird magic shit. His wife is dead recently, and all of a sudden he sees his wife, and his wife's like, "You have to take this golden box to this specific address, yada, 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 yada." He starts to do that, and instead ends up at the Daily Planet and leaves the golden box in their front lobby. Some ogres come out, attack Superman, who is at his desk late at night, past midnight, trying to write up a story on a dog show from that afternoon. You'd think that'd be something that'd be real easy to just get done and out of the way, but Clark Kent likes to take his time, and so he's burning the midnight oil, writing a story on a dog show. I think hold on, I just accidentally deleted something. But I think the winner of the dog show was Shelby the Smooth Collie. So the ogres attack Clark. He wraps them up in his cape and spins them around and slings them through the elevator shaft, and they fall on a car that's in a lobby. Then all of a sudden they're gone. Clark meets up with Batman. They take the golden box to the Watchtower. Jean's there, the Flash is there, and they say, "Okay, well, we can't figure out what's up with this box. Let's go to this museum and talk to the curator there and see what's going on with it." And so they get there. They're talking to Dr. Milton, and then all of a sudden, a dragon shows up, and a horde of mummies show up, and they have to fight both of them. And then they leave the museum, and out in the park, there's some joggers there who are being attacked by a horde of zombie trees. And so far, it's been a lot more action than story. It's a pretty goofy book. It's meant for younger children. I mean, it's like what? It's a tie-in to a cartoon. It's a total of like 120 pages. So it's not much of anything too serious. but it's been a fun time reading it to you guys. But yeah, so that's the recap. All right. Arm fall off boy and that boy, you guys are fighting each other. I think that's what the proposal is. Unless you guys are getting married now. I don't know what the difference is. I've never been married or in a fight. No, that's a lie. I've been in a fight. But with the recap out of the way, I'm going to start chapter 5. Every couple pages, I will pop in, interact with you guys in the chat. So if you've got any questions, be sure to leave them there. Or you guys can just talk amongst yourselves, whatever you feel like using the chat for. It's here for you guys. I'm here for you guys. We're just going to sit here, have fun. I'm going to read, take notes, talk to you guys. But chapter 5. William Van how do you pronounce that name? Nostrand? William Van Nostrand peered over the top of his half glasses at the silver sword before him. Holding a jeweler's loop up to the gem-encrusted hilt, he scanned the thin line of blue and green stones, muttering, to himself every few seconds. Van Nostrand had opened ancient treasures 30 years earlier. During that time, it had grown into one of Metropolis's finest antiques galleries, and he had come to be respected around the world as an authority on all things British. The older, the better. His gallery was huge, located in an old factory that had been renovated to accommodate the aisles and aisles filled with one-of-a-kind treasures from the mists of history. Ancient armor, costumes, pottery, tools, and weapons lined the shelves and filled the display cases of the cavernous gallery, along with rows and rows of bookcases housing original handwritten manuscripts, some dating back centuries. Van Nostrand was a happy man, his love of the past having been his passion since childhood. He was never happier than when surrounded by these reminders of eras long gone. But the past few days had been upsetting for the tall man in his 60s with a full head of gray hair. A rare and valuable piece had been stolen from his gallery in the dead of night, and his trusted night security guard had disappeared around the same time, making the former police officer the prime suspect in the theft. That's the security guard I was talking about earlier. What's his name? Simon, I think. Police had searched for the missing man, but he too seemed to have vanished into the darkness. Still, William Van Nostrand went on with his life's work and greatest passion, collecting, researching, and cataloging rare antiquities. Now, where did that book go? He said to himself, rolling back his old metal office chair. Van Nostrand stepped over piles of papers and boxes full of objects from many eras, all gathered in this gallery where the past had come to life. Scanning the thick leather-bound volumes piled upon the floor, he reached out for a book entitled 16th Century Weaponry. Sliding the musty tome from its place in a tall stack of books, the proprietor settled back into the squeaky chair and carefully opened the volume's yellowed pages. He was interrupted by the sound of the front door opening. Over the years, William Van Nostrand had seen some strange things enter his gallery. Artifacts from other ages, manuscripts from all over the world, but nothing in his experience had prepared him for the sight that came walking through the door at that moment. 3 costumed men entered the dark, musty building. "May I help you?" Van Nostrand said, rising from his seat, squinting through the dim light. Then he recognized his unusual visitors. "My word!" he exclaimed. "Superman! After all my many years in Metropolis, the famous Man of Steel walks into my shop with Batman and the Flash. Well, what can I do for you, gentlemen?" "We're looking for the owner of this gallery," Superman explained. "That would be me," the owner acknowledged. "I am William Van Nostrand." "Mr. Van Nostrand, I'm a friend of Dr. Milton's," Batman said. "Are you indeed?" Van Nostrand asked. "I never knew that the esteemed doctor kept such exciting company when he wasn't buried in his books." "He's helped me out on cases in the past," Batman continued, "and he suggested we speak with you." Batman pulled out the photo of the mysterious golden crown blazing in its leaden box and handed it to Van Nostrand. The frail-looking man turned pale and looked up from the photo at Batman. "This piece was recently stolen from me," Van Nostrand exclaimed. Do you gentlemen have it in your possession?
It's being held in a safe place, Superman explained. What can you tell us about it?
Actually, I was researching the crown just before it disappeared, Van Nostrand explained. It was part of a collection of clothing, weapons, and armor that I imported from Wales. That particular item was reputed to be the crown of Pendragon, but its true origins are still a mystery. What's a Pendragon? The Flash asked, noticing that the stunned reaction on his teammate's face. Somebody want to clue me in here?
Pendragon is the family name of King Arthur, said Batman.
You mean the King Arthur? Knights of the Round Table, Excalibur, and all that knights in shining armor jazz? Flash asked. The very one, Van Nostrand said. Artifacts from the reign of the Pendragon family are most cherished and difficult to come by. I was still investigating the authenticity of that piece when it was unfortunately removed from the gallery.
Do you have any clues about who might have taken it? Superman asked,
hoping to learn the identity of the man who had stumbled into Clark Kent's office and was now recuperating at Metropolis Hospital. Before Van Nostrand could respond, Superman dropped to his knees, his face a twisted mask of pain.
Superman!
Batman shouted. Superman threw his head back and lifted his hands to his face.
Arg!
He cried out in pain. Suddenly, jagged shafts of white lightning shot from his fingertips, slamming into Batman, driving the Dark Knight to the floor. Flash sped to Batman's side.
I'm all right,
the Dark Knight said as the Scarlet Speedster helped him to his feet. But what's with Supes? Flash asked. Batman, Flash, and William Van Nostrand looked on in astonishment as Superman stood up, then began spinning at super speed like a living top. Okay, so that's I'm gonna take the first break here. When I take the breaks, I switch over to my. I've got a spreadsheet for taking notes on this stuff. I explain this every time. We've got a bunch of different columns in it to help with note taking. The first column is for character appearances, and I guess technically James wants locations as well, or like specific items, stuff like that. So I've already gotten, Flash and Batman and Superman and the security guard. So far in this chapter, the only new character is William Van Nostrand. But we got the name of his antique shop, Ancient Treasures. And then we got the name of the Crown of Pendragon. And let's see, I believe, what was it? King Arthur was name dropped? Yeah, so King Arthur was name dropped. And then the Knights of the Round Table, since they are a specific group of people. My next column is stuff that might make this book non-canon. I don't think there was anything so far in this chapter. In-show events, nothing yet, but Batman says he's worked with Dr. Milton before, so I don't know if that was something from somewhere else, so I'm just going to put it there just in case. Batman has worked with Dr. Milton in the past, ? And let me see, where is, there you go, make that look better. And then the next column is references about time. So Van Nostrand opened up Ancient Treasures 30 years ago. I think there was a mention of the 16th century. Was it the 16th century? Oh, where did that go? Well, Nostrand is in his 60s, so that's a mention of time. Is in his 60s. Yeah, where was it? Yeah, 16th century weaponry. 16th century weaponry book. And then he said that the events of everything happened last night, so it's only been like one day. The book started one night ago. Yeah, so there's that. Then like the next column is anything that's concretely introduced beforehand. So stuff like the Bat Signal, the Watchtower, the Justice League, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing like that's shown up. Or at least that hasn't shown up in previous chapters, so that's fine. Next column after that's pop culture. Nothing to that effect yet, unless you count King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. But I think that counts more as a historical thing than pop culture, so I'm not going to put that there. And then the next column's weather, which, like, you know, if it says something like a bright summer day, a nice spring night, et cetera, not worrying about that because there's nothing so far. Other clues. I don't think there's been anything else yet. So what are you guys talking about over here? Cheers to the happy couple. I vote for more Mattie voice impressions. The way Flash talks in this is kind of weird. Try voicing Superman. I'm trying to do a Superman voice, but I feel like Superman has like a kind of normal voice. I'm not sure if you noticed, but like between Van Nostrand and Superman, I'm doing like a very slightly different voice, but it's still, you know, kind of I guess in my normal banter kind of sound. So it's not too, they're not too far off from each other, but I'm giving them different inflections. Dr. Milton and Batman, I ship it. I don't even know that much about Dr. Milton other than he worked at that museum. They kind of left him to rot with all the dragons and zombies and everything that were going on there. It was weird. But yeah, so back to the chapter. What's happening? Van Nostrand cried, backing away from the inconceivable sight before him. Bright light surrounded the Man of Steel, spinning in the opposite direction. First yellow, then red, tendril-like threads of light wrapped around Superman, weaving together, creating a blanket of energy covering him completely. Slowly, the spinning stopped, leaving Superman encased with a gray cocoon. Its surface was uneven, its texture rough, and no part of Superman's body was visible. Batman approached the enormous shell cautiously. He ran his hand along its craggy exterior, feeling for a seam of some kind, but found none. Superman! That's not my Batman voice. That's okay. Superman! He shouted, hoping that his voice would penetrate the thick layer, and that his friend within was still alive and conscious. Superman! He yelled again, pounding on the cocoon with his fist. The cocoon remained motionless and silent. I thought it said silently. The cocoon remained motionless and silent. Pulling a sharp-edged battering from his utility belt, Batman sliced horizontally along the cocoon's surface, hoping to cut it open. The metallic edge of his weapon screeched, then dulled against the tough surface. Do you have any cutting tools? The Dark Knight asked William Van Nostrand. Why do they keep doing his full name? You could just do Van Nostrand. You could just do William. The proprietor of the gallery nodded, then headed toward the back of the building. He returned a few minutes later with a canvas satchel, dropping the bag onto a work table with a dull clang. Van Nostrand pulled out a long, thin metal tool with an electrical cord attached at the bottom. It's a diamond tip drill, Van Nostrand explained. It can cut through even the hardest material. Plugging in the drill, Van Nostrand revved up its spinning diamond tip, then pressed the tool against the cocoon. Sparks flew as the tip spun, its motors struggling to provide enough power. After a couple of minutes, he shut down the drill and looked on with dismay at the surface of the shell, which remained unembellished, as if no attempt to cut it open had been made. Van Nostrand next pulled out a welding torch. Hey, careful with that! Flash exclaimed. I know Superman's supposed to be invulnerable, but we don't know what might be happening to him inside that wrapping.
This tool has great precision, Van Nostrand explained, slipping on his welder's mask to protect his eyes and firing up the thin blue flame. Shield your eyes. A thin beam of searing heat blasted the cocoon's surface, moving across the tall gray shell. When Van Nostrand shut down the torch, the surface again looked untouched. Let me take a look at it, Flash demanded, stepping up to the cocoon and placing his hands on each side of the tomb-like enclosure. Using his incredible ability as the fastest man alive, the Flash focused all his speed into his hands, vibrating them at a blinding rate, creating friction, which he hoped would burn through the outer shell. His hands blurred into crimson patches, moving faster and faster. Smoke rose from both sides of the cocoon, giving Flash momentary hope that his plan had worked. But when he removed his hands, Flash discovered that the only things burning were his gloves, which withered away in brown wisps of smoke. The cocoon remained unchanged. Flash turned to Van Nostrand. You wouldn't happen to have an extra pair of bright red gloves somewhere in this joint, would you? He asked, not really expecting an answer. I'm going to contact John on the Watchtower, Batman said, switching on his comlink. Yeah, Flash said. Maybe he's got a clue about what's going on, because we sure don't. Batman to Watchtower. The Dark Knight spoke into his comlink. Are you there, John? I am here, Batman, Jean replied. I've been wondering about your progress. What have you learned about the Crown? The Dark Knight quickly filled the Martian Manhunter in on the bizarre battles at the museum and in the Centennial Park, their discovery of the Antiquities Gallery, and William Van Nostrand's belief that the object in their possession was the crown of Pendragon. He then told Jean about Superman's situation and their attempts to free the Man of Steel from his cocoon. My guess is it's another magical attack, Batman concluded. Not necessarily, Jean replied over the comlinks. Don't forget that although Superman looks like a human, he is in truth an alien life form. Sheesh, Flash said, joining the conversation via his comlink. You make him sound like some kind of hideous beast that bursts out of people's stomachs. I, too, am an alien life form, Flash, John Jones reminded his teammate. And a heck of a good-looking guy, Flash replied, embarrassed that he had once again spoken before thinking. It was a constant problem for the young hero, whose mind sped along as quickly as his feet. Who's this talking? That's Jean. His extraordinary powers serve as a constant reminder of the fact that he is from a distant planet, and his makeup is not that of a human, the Martian Manhunter said, as he is the only survivor of the planet Krypton. Neither we nor Superman, nor even Superman himself, really knows all that much about his own physiology. It is possible that Kryptonians undergo a midlife transformation. You mean like a caterpillar changing into a butterfly? Flash asked, his mask unable to hide the puzzled look on his face. For one example, yes, Jean replied. But Earth is not the only world in which some species experience this type of change. Back on Mars, our scientific databanks contained records of many races from a number of worlds who formed some type of cocoon-like cover and emerged in a different physical form. I don't know if wings would be a good look for Supes, Flash said. No offense to Hawk Girl. So what now? Batman asked. Since we really don't know what it is we are dealing with, Jean began, I feel that it's too dangerous to disturb the cocoon or try to move Superman to another location. I believe we'll just have to wait and see what develops. I was afraid, Batman said in a tight voice. You were going to say that. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 5. Not a lot more there as far as notes go. We did get Flash is young, but that's kind of relative. Superman is seemingly, I guess, midlife, according to Jean. Although Superman is an alien, so what is midlife? I don't know. I'm not sure if Jean even knows. So maybe he's guessing, but I'll put it down anyway. There was a mention of Hawk Girl. Not Hack Girl. There was a mention of Hawk Girl. And I think there was they named the park that they were at earlier. What was it? It was Centennial Park. Okay, yeah. So the name of the park was Centennial Park. That's where all the zombie trees were. And then Flash made a reference to Alien. It wasn't by name, but the popping out of the chest was totally a reference to the Alien film series. What you guys got going on in the chat since we're between chapters? Batman is just playing hard to get. Why would Batman call Superman Superman and not just Clark? I don't. This is probably before. I would say this is probably before the events of Starcrossed. I don't know if Clark's identity was everyone's public knowledge right then. You gotta remember, not only is Flash also in the room, who may or may not know Superman's identity, but so is William Van Nostrand. And you don't want to just be like, "Hey, Superman's Clark Kent, antiques guy." I now ship the Flash and Jean. Hey, I mean, whatever floats your boat. Let's ship them all. That's a pop culture reference to Alien, putting this book after 1979, like the entire rest of the DCAU. Yeah, that was definitely that. Like I said, that's definitely a reference to Alien. But it is what it is. Ugh, I hate this dialogue. Is it possible for kids to already know what Superman is? It? Yeah, this the dialogue in this book is definitely a lot more than it needs to be. You could probably consolidate this down even further to like half of the size of this book, or you could even make the story more interesting. But that's just me. I'm sure if they are reading this book that they would already be fans of the series, especially since Superman's on the front cover. I would imagine that people would be like, "Oh, Superman." But yeah, you've totally got a point there. Hack Girl should be a character now. Maybe she's Gillface's nemesis. God, I want to do something with Gillface and Two Mason. I've been working on some OC here and there that I want to formulate more, and Gillface and Two Mason are definitely going to be like bit characters in it, but it's going to take me time. Let's see. So we're on chapter 6, which looks like it's a bit longer than the last chapter. So yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and jump into that. Not knowing what to expect from the mysterious cocoon, the Justice League alerted the police to help evacuate the immediate area around the gallery. And with the first transmission over the Metropolis Police Department's radio network, word spread quickly that something strange had happened to Metropolis's greatest hero. The Man of Steel was in trouble, and the city he had saved countless times over the years rallied to his side. You probably don't want to rally to the side of somebody if you're being told to evacuate. A huge crowd formed outside the Ancient Treasures Gallery. It continued growing, and soon the police arrived to set up barricades to contain the throng, which threatened to disrupt nearby business and traffic in the downtown area. Naturally, the story was big news. A WGBS TV news van screeched to a stop in front of the Ancient Treasures Gallery. What is WGBS? I feel like if you're doing call signs like that in a children's book, it's probably something specific. And I typed it in, and WGBS TV is one of the first things that showed up. WGBS LD is a low-power television station in Hampton, Virginia. Why would is Now I'm curious. Is Michael Teitelbaum from Virginia? Let's see. What do we know? Michael Teitelbaum, author. There are two different Michael Teitelbaums. There's the author, and then there's this guy who is the former vice president of the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, who I imagine, yeah, they don't look the same at all. Let's see. He's from Brooklyn, New York, so I don't know why he's calling out a Virginia news station at all. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. A WGBS TV news van screeched to a stop in front of the Ancient Treasures Gallery. Leaping from the van, even before it had finished moving, a young reporter wearing an open leather jacket over a white t-shirt hurried toward the police barricade, followed closely by his cameraman. Clutching a microphone in his left hand, the reporter flashed his press credentials at a Metropolis police officer with his right, then signaled for the cameraman to follow. The two made their way through the crowd. When they reached the front door of the gallery, a second officer waved them inside, where they were met by a startling sight. "Wow!" the reporter exclaimed at the vision of a 7-foot-tall gray cocoon balanced motionless among the rows of ancient artifacts. "And Superman is supposed to be inside that thing?" "That's what came into the station," the cameraman replied, switching on his handheld video camera and focusing on the bizarre object before them. The reporter ran a hand through his mop of thick, dark hair in a repetitive but useless ritual to fix himself up before going on the air. His hair flopped back down into its usual position on his forehead. The young man had grown up in Metropolis, and like so many people his age, he idolized Superman. Although he had covered... Oh, okay. I didn't see the period there. Although he had covered the Man of Steel in action many times, he still never got used to the fact that the Metropolis Marvel, and vulnerable to so many forces, sometimes faced great dangers from threats both known and, as in this case, unknown. "Okay," he said to the cameraman as he heard the tinny voice of his news director trill in the earplug that was his link to the TV studio. "We go live in 5, 4, 3, 2... The little red light atop the camera flashed on, and the reporter spoke to an anxious population. "Oh, shit, okay. This is Snapper Carr, WGBS TV, reporting live from the Ancient Treasures Gallery in downtown Metropolis," he said in a voice that got at least an octave deeper now that he was on the air. "This building is filled with strange artifacts from around the globe in centuries past, but none more bizarre than the object behind me. Little is known about the gray cocoon that mysteriously appeared in this gallery about 2 hours ago. What is known is that Superman, defender of Metropolis, is trapped inside. Details are sketchy, but apparently some manner of energy force shot from the Man of Steel's fingers, then wove this unbreakable tapestry of terror, encasing Superman within. The Justice League have tried every method at their disposal to break the cocoon, but have been met with failure. We'll try to speak with them in a moment. Right now, I'm with the gallery's proprietor, Mr. William Van Nostrand." The cameraman zoomed out a bit to include William Van Nostrand in his view. Van Nostrand stood beside Snapper Carr. "Mr. Van Nostrand," Carr began, "what can you tell us about what happened here?" Snapper just told us everything that happened to the full extent of what happened in the last chapter. And he's asking someone else to repeat it. The stunned proprietor ran a wrinkled hand across his haggard face. "Well, I was speaking with Superman, Batman, and Flash," he began, when all of a sudden Superman collapsed. Beams of light shot all around the gallery. And then they came together to form this shell around Superman. We tried everything from a diamond drill to a blowtorch, but nothing seemed to even make a scratch. "Could Superman be undergoing some kind of transformation inside the cocoon?" Carr asked. "I really don't know. Van Nostrand said, uncomfortable before the camera and unwilling to speculate on the meaning of the strange events unfolding in his gallery. No one does. Then he turned away. I'm going to try to speak with Batman or the Flash to see if they know anything more, Carr reported to his viewers, signaling to his cameraman to follow. All right, there's a page break there. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna pop in what we got so far for this chapter. See, as far as appearances, we got WGBS TV. Snapper Carr is new to the book. WGBS TV cameraman. And we got a mention of, what was it, his director, his producer? His news director. Okay, so WGBS TV news director. And Snapper Carr is said to be young. So I don't know how young that is, but young. And I think that's about it as far as like notes for that section. What are you guys up to? What's going on? Good point on Batman not saying Superman's real name. Forgot that the doctor dude was in the same room. So have you already read this book, or is this your first time? I've had this book for a while, but I've never actually read it. I'm really bad at actually reading things. A lot of the time I let my ADHD get the best of me. And so like I've got shelves of books that I just haven't touched, and I'm like, oh, I'll do it one day. I'll read them all. And I figured the best way to get me to finally actually do that was to, make it a weekly thing and stream with you guys. That way I actually get it done. I am convinced William is going to be a villain later. Maybe Superman is actually a bug. It's canon. This is reminding me a lot of that episode of Teen Titans where Starfire goes through puberty and gets the really big zit, and then all of a sudden gets cocooned and turns back into regular Starfire. I think the villains in the story are going to be Morgan Le Fay and Mordred, but like we're halfway through the book and no actual villain has shown up. Just like nameless ogres and dragons and mummies and zombie trees and stuff like that. So I don't know what's going on. It may be that like they were able to use the superheroes, but they didn't want to use supervillains to like not contradict anything in the show. Possibly because like they may have not known like, oh, we don't know what you guys are going to do here or there, so let's just try to make it all work. That might be why they're being like really vague and padding everything out with like explanations for stuff that we all already know. That's just my guess, though. It's very possible that that Morgan Le Fay and Mordred show up. Yep. Okay. I just spoiled myself. They show up. I don't know how much further into the book, but I just saw their names flipping through. So yeah, back to it. Batman knelt beside the massive cocoon, various tools from his utility belt splayed out on the floor. Uneasy with sitting around waiting for something, or possibly nothing, to happen, the Dark Knight passed the time in what he felt was at least an attempt at being constructive. Since conventional cutting tools had failed, he now turned to the collection of devices available to him at all times, from the various compartments of the carry-along tool shop and weapons armory known as his utility belt. One by one, he used the implements to try to scrape, cut, sand, or burn off a small piece of the gray shell in hopes of using his portable mini-computer, which was linked by a high-speed wireless connection to the vast resources of the Bat computer back in the Bat Cave, to analyze the material from which it was made. A brilliant scientist, as well as a great detective and warrior, Batman never ignored a potential scientific solution to a mystery like the one he now faced. Having unsuccessfully used blades, drills, even caustic chemical compounds, Batman now fired up a small acetylene torch. That's a big word for a kid's book. At that moment, a throng of TV reporters poured through the front door of the gallery. Batman did his best to ignore them, but the eager group quickly surrounded the hero, thrusting their microphones in his face, practically knocking the flaming torch from his hands. "Batman!" one reporter shouted. "Cat Grant, the news at 6. What can you tell?" "Batman!" a second journalist interrupted the first. "Is it true that the aliens were spotted in the neighborhood shortly before Superman was captured by the killer Cocoon?" "Is it possible the aliens were working for Lex Luthor?" backed another. "What exactly are you trying to—" From the corner of his eye, Batman caught a red streak moving between him and the gaggle of reporters. The Flash, knowing how much Batman hated talking to the media, moved up and down the line of reporters, forming a one-man wall between them and his Justice League partner. "Batman's busy," Flash announced, unveiling his irresistible media-friendly smile for the cameras. Yeah, and it's not a good idea to bother the man when he's doing some scientific things." Then, whispering conspiratorially, he added, "He gets kind of cranky." Snapper Carr and the others looked back, hoping to catch Batman making a breakthrough, but the Flash gently but firmly herded the group away. "Yeah, I'll make a statement," the Scarlet Speedster announced, looking right into the half-dozen cameras that now focused on him. "The truth is, we just don't know. It could be some Kryptonian rite of passage or evolutionary step. For all we know, the big guy could emerge from that thing with iridescent wings or a couple of extra heads. Only time will tell. Thank you." The media horde broke up slowly, then Flash sped back to Batman's side. "Thanks," the Dark Knight muttered, switching off his torch after another futile attempt to crack a sample off the Cocoon. Then he glanced across the room at the reporters who were on the air, speaking to their concerned audiences. "Superman, man or mutant," one reporter began. "As his good friend the Flash just said, and I'm quoting here, only time will tell." Snapper Carr also stared right at his viewers. "Well, there you have it. The mystery of the Metropolis Cocoon, day 1, he reported. "Lots of speculation, little fact. But one thing you can be sure of, we'll be right here to bring you any developments as they happen. This is Snapper Carr reporting live for WGBS TV." All right, so there's another page break there. Let's see. So we got Cat Grant as a new character, and there were a couple unnamed reporters, and then Lex Luthor was even mentioned. And let's see. Oh, news at 6. The good old Cat Grant's news program. News at 6. Let's see. As far as in-show events, Lex Luthor is suggested to be behind this. So maybe it's before he got his presidential pardon in a better world. And I think that's all for that little section. What do you guys got going on? What are y'all talking about? Did everyone else leave? It says there are 6 of y'all here, and yet Crazy Duplicate's the only one in the chat. What are you guys doing? Oh, there were a couple of y'all. Okay. Sorry, I couldn't watch the stream, fam. Oof. I have returned it. Hey, Kid in the Power. What's up? I'll give you a recap, Diego. So why are you reading this book? The plan essentially is to go through all, like, for Watchtower Database, we are building a website that is going to have everything DCAU ever.
And we want it to, it's going to be like an encyclopedia of sorts. So it's kind of going to be like the DCAU wiki, but it's going to be thorough. It's going to be, regardless of if it's canon or not, we'll have it there. That way, like, people can go through all of it. And part of figuring out what is canon and what isn't canon is going to include reading all of these child books. And, being able to have, like, what the characters, like, showed up in which books and all that. Just it's a huge undertaking. And so that's why I'm reading this book right now for the most part. But eventually, like, we'll also do videos on these books, will it canons, timelines, stuff like that, even though they're not, like, that big of a deal. Either way, I don't know how we will make those videos too entertaining, but we're gonna figure it out. Maddie's reading the book for future videos, I believe. Yes, yeah, you answered it for me. So future videos and the online encyclopedia, and to go through a giant shelf of books he's never read. Anyway, random guard is in a museum, forced blah blah blah. Ogres attack, investigate crown, and then Superman puts on the crown, gets formed into cocoon. I find it weird. I am the only one still talking. I'm here. Hello there. I'm still here. I'm glad we're all here. Do you have all the other Justice League Children books? I've got 3 out of, I think, 9. I'm planning on, as this progresses, buying the books. But I'm doing this at a slow enough pace that I'm not going to get caught up with everything, like all the stuff that I own, before I'm able to go buy the next one. And even then, like, if I'm short on books and don't have the next one in my possession to read, I live, like, literally right next door to a library, and I don't know if they have the other ones from this specific series, but I do know that the Seattle library system does have, like, the newer capstone books that have been coming out in the past couple years that at least use the DCAU style. Some of the writers try to make them in continuity. Some of them don't really care that much. But so I can go through those as well if I don't have, the next book ordered in my possession before then. According to Amazon, there's 10. Okay, yeah, I thought there was only 9, but I guess 10 makes sense. I know there's Golden Opportunity. There's a Secret Origins one. There's War Wings. There's Red something or other. I think I don't know. There's definitely a lot of them, and I'm hoping that the others are going to be more exciting than this one. I may break it up a little bit and not go to the next Justice League book after this, but go to, like, I've got Mystery of the Batwoman, I've got Sub-Zero, like, I've got a lot of different DCAU inspired or adapted books. According to someone on Discord, the book you're reading is really rare. It might be. Is it? I'm curious now. I googled the book name earlier, and it's funny because I'm on the first page of the Google results. So it might be hard to find, but it also looks like not a lot of people are looking for it for me to be, front page of everything. And I've only been doing this for a couple weeks. On Amazon, it goes for, you can get it for $2 on Amazon. There are 40 used copies of it right now on Amazon, starting at $1.99. And it looks like going up to like $6. $1.99 plus $3.99 shipping. $5.99 with free shipping. $7.58. Yeah, so I mean, there's plenty of stock on it. You probably just can't find it, like, in a new bookstore because it's out of print. It might even be hard to find in a used bookstore just because they don't necessarily have, like, a specific stock that they're going for, and it's just based on whatever people bring in. But yeah, it's able to be found. I found earlier there was
So the Internet Archive has a digital library. Actually, let me see if I can find that right now. Internet Archive has a digital library, and they've got a lot of DCAU books in that. And I know they had Golden Opportunity in there this morning. I posted the link to that in the Discord server, and it ended up I guess somebody from the Discord server went ahead and rented it so that they could read along, or so they could read on their own time, I guess, maybe. I know somebody else had said they tried to snag it, and they weren't able to. Yeah. So where's the library itself? So yeah, this has only been borrowed a total of 26 times since being. Okay, so there's books by Michael Teitelbaum. Here, I'll just grab this link and I'll throw it in the chat. That way, if you guys wanted to look for anything, you could easily just find the library from there. It came out in 2003, so when Justice League was still on air. Like it's got the Watch Justice League on Cartoon Network right there on the back. It's pretty old. But yeah, back into the chapter, because we are getting close to the 5 o'clock mark, and I try to only take an hour with these, like an hour and 30 minutes, depending on if you guys have questions and stuff. The 3 television sets in Lois Lane's office were on constantly, each tuned to an all-news cable network. Often, Lois was on top of a story even before the networks picked it up. But it was also part of her job to keep one eye focused on the constant infobabble emerging from the tubes, while the other was trained on her own work. The past few days had been exhausting for the Daily Planet's senior reporter. Lois was pressed to finish writing up her exclusive interview with the mayor of Metropolis, yet 4 urgent stories in the past 2 days had called her away from the office, launching her into the next phase of the juggling act that was her life. Lois banged away on her computer's keyboard, intent on wrapping up the feature interview before heading home for some much-needed rest. Almost simultaneously, the 3 news stations flashed a special bulletin. This was not that unusual and not enough to turn her attention away from the task at hand. Over the years, she had developed the ability to write while she listened into the TV. Her finely honed news filter set to pick up keywords that signaled to her that it was time to pay closer attention. One such word blared from all 3 sets within seconds of each other. Superman. Instinctively saving her work, Lois turned from her computer, grabbing the remote and raising the volume on the first TV. Details of the incident at Ancient Treasures poured from the speaker. Any mention of the Man of Steel was enough to get her attention. But this time, he was in trouble, and her deep feelings for the Metropolis Marvel propelled her into action. Grabbing her notebook computer, Lois bolted from her office, rushing from the Daily Planet building and into a cab. As the taxi sped toward the gallery, a feeling of dread overcame Lois. She cared greatly for the Man of Steel. Loved him, in fact. Although his life as a superhero made romance difficult at best. Pressing the speed dial on her cell phone, Lois called Jimmy Olsen, the planet's young photographer, and told him to meet her at the gallery now. The cab screeched to a stop in front of Ancient Treasures, and Lois dashed from the back seat. Flashing her press credentials, she hurried into the gallery. Spotting Batman, she walked briskly toward him. "Batman!" Lois called out, booting up her computer. "Lois Lane, Daily Planet!" She realized that Batman knew who she was. In fact, years earlier, she had shared a romantic entanglement with the Dark Knight in his identity of Bruce Wayne. But Lois felt uncomfortable using her personal relationship with Batman as an excuse to approach the intensely private and media-shy Dark Knight with any informality. Batman, because of his history with Lois and his awareness of Superman's deep feelings for her, was more than happy to allow the longtime professional journalist to set the tone of all their conversations. "Lois," Batman said, nodding. He then proceeded to fill her in on the events leading up to the formation of the cocoon as she typed furiously. As they spoke, Jimmy Olsen arrived, rushing to Lois's side. "What kept you, Jimmy?" she asked. I don't have a very good Lois voice. If it's not blatantly obvious, I'm not a girl. So that is what it is. The red-headed youth was already snapping a lens into the body of his camera as he replied, "Just a little high-rise fire and Baker line, Miss Lane." He raised the camera to his eye and got to work capturing the cocoon. The gallery capturing the cocoon, the gallery, and the general pandemonium on film. "So, nothing's been able to break through the shell?" she asked, turning back to her interview with Batman. The Dark Knight shook his head. "I can't even chip off a small sample to analyze." Ow. A Batman voice hurts. Lois Lane's instincts told her that Batman was holding something back, but she knew better than to press the guarded hero as she swiftly wrote up her notes, hoping to get the story into that day's edition of The Planet. Her concern for Superman grew. What if this time... Hey, buddy, what's going on? Hold on, my cat wants to come hang out. Hey. Oh. Hey. Are you going to come hang out, or are you chilling on that? Okay. All right. My cat came over to hang out, but he's sitting on the seat across the table from me. That's all right. Where was I? Oh, yeah. What if this time something had come along that was more than the Man of Steel could handle? Pushing those thoughts from her mind, she turned to her photographer. "Jimmy," she called out, "go get that film processed while I write this up. I'll email the story in, but I want to stay here in case anything happens." The young photographer nodded, then dashed from the gallery. Suddenly, Lois found herself surrounded by the crowds of TV reporters who, having grown bored waiting for something to happen, saw a chance to make their own stories. Microphones were shoved in her face and questions began flying. "Miss Lane, is it true that you're Superman's girlfriend? Did he send you a note of some kind before the cocoon got him? Any plans for a romantic getaway with the Man of Steel once this harrowing ordeal is over?" "Oh, you want to come hang out now? Come on." Here you go, guys. This is Archer. He doesn't understand what's going on. He just wants to sit on my lap. And I'm going to allow it. "People!" Lois shouted in a commanding voice that instantly silenced the crowd. She pointed at the giant cocoon. "Let's not forget why we're here, shall we?" Then she turned back to her laptop to complete her story. The slightly stunned crowd of TV reporters proceeded to make themselves comfortable. Although nothing was happening at the moment, nobody wanted to leave and miss the eventual outcome of this bizarre story, whatever that turned out to be. Lois, buddy, you got hair just coming up in my face. You're messing up my allergies. And the people want to hear me read. Lois realized that she, too, was not going to leave until this situation had resolved itself. She justified her decision professionally. She didn't want to miss covering any developments, but also knew that her feelings for Superman could not allow her to leave him in a time of great potential danger. And so the vigil wore on. Hour after numbing hour, reporters and TV crews from more and more distant cities streamed in, and the fairly roomy gallery was quickly packed to capacity. "I usually don't get this many people in the gallery in a whole month," William Van Nostrand said to The Flash. "Well, how often do you have 3 members of the Justice League on display?" Flash replied, smiling. "And one of them in a cocoon." Batman pulled Flash aside. "I've got to take care of a few things, but I'll be back soon," the Dark Knight announced. "Contact me on the comlink if anything happens." "What's the matter?" Flash asked. "Leave the oven on in the Batcave?" Without a word, Batman slipped from the gallery. Okay, so there's a page break there. The chapter is almost done, but let me go ahead and get the notes on that since this boy is up here trying to take my attention from you guys. We got Jimmy Olsen is new to the book. I don't believe he was mentioned before. Lois Lane was in the chapter where Superman was writing up the dog story, so that's A-okay. Let's see. So we got, as far as in-show events, we got reference to World's Finest. Or I guess I should say exactly what the reference was. Lois dating Batman, and then World's Finest. And then let's see. Jimmy Olsen is still young. Everyone's young in this book. The Flash, Snapper, Jimmy, all just a bunch of youngins. And then let's see. And then we were told World's Finest was a couple years ago. Oh, you can't just be pushing the light around, buddy. You're gonna knock it off the table. What you guys got going on in the chat? Hal Jones reviews of these books on Amazon are really cute. For No Man is an Island. If you want a book with a fight that ends due to some great strategy, get In Darkest Night. This one uses an obvious strategy that really wouldn't work. And even if it did work, the enemy still wouldn't be down for the count. But I'm a collector of this series, so I'm still glad I got this book. And for Darkest Night, this book has an excellent story in it. Green Lantern must get through robots, then come up with an evil plan to rid a struggling world from the tyrant Evil Star. And it was an excellent plan, too. If a book has an excellent plan, it deserves a 10 out of 10. I could agree with that. Excellent planning usually leads to excellent stories. Dude's been missing for days. Which dude's been missing? Sneeze with legs. Yes, I am allergic to cats, and we have 2 of them, and it is difficult not to just constantly have an itchy nose. Will Super Friends canon? I wish. Freakazoid will it canon? I'm not. If you guys have seen the top 10 baths video that we did a while back, you might be aware of our fan Michael Brent. He's constantly in our comment section, like talking about the Creeper (parenthesis Jack Ryder close parenthesis), and that's where we came up with that meme from. But he also brings up Freakazoid a lot. If you go to almost any of our older videos and just like Control F on the page, Michael Brent, you'll find some gold there. If you do that, don't make fun of the guy. I'm sure he might have I don't know. I feel like there are some commenters speak pretty broken, and I don't know if it's like a learning disability or if it's like English might not be their first language. So if you go look the guy up, don't make fun of him for any reason. He's a swell guy. He found it funny when we used all of his comments for the baths video. Track him down if you want, get a laugh in. And tell him to have a good day or something. How the hell did Lois not figure out Superman was Clark by now? Because Clark hasn't been missing for days. It's been 1 day. William Van Nostrand said everything happened the night before. So last she saw him was at midnight-ish, like whenever she was leaving the office. And then now Superman's in a cocoon and she hasn't seen Clark for the day. But Clark goes missing from time to time anyway. Ultimate fourth wall break. Michael Brent is Freakazoid. He might be. All right, we've got 3 pages left. And then if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to start leaving them, because I will start looking at them and answering them after these 3 pages. It was nearly dawn when Batman returned. The cocoon remained unchanged, and the Dark Knight quickly, I guess now it's been days that Superman's been gone. A full day. The cocoon remained unchanged, and the Dark Knight quickly grew frustrated that the excruciating waiting game had resumed. Empty pizza boxes and crumpled coffee cups piled up in the corners of the army of media. Piled up in the corners as the army of media continued their campout, refusing to leave and risk missing a story. Jimmy Olsen returned, having gotten his initial shots into the Daily Planet, and took up the vigil alongside Lois. The veteran reporter continued to jot notes into her computer and refine her take on the events of the past 24 hours, setting up a story that would be ready to go once anything newsworthy happened. So I guess if she'd been there all day, maybe that's why she doesn't realize that Clark's gone. Even though it's been 2 days now, I guess, in DCAU time, the night before, and now not the morning after, but the morning after that. But then you would think that maybe she would have tried to hit Clark up and be like, "Hey, Clark, this is going on. Why are you not here for this big old Superman story?" But I don't know, man. I feel like they're not expecting kids to ask questions. Maybe this book is just not meant for us. Then, without warning, a thunderous cracking sound exploded in the gallery. Lois turned to see a split forming on the surface of the giant cocoon. Almost stampeded by the rush of media people, Lois worked her way through the crowd. She didn't have to tell Jimmy what needed to be done. He instantly began clicking off picture after picture. A jagged crack zigzagged along the front of the cocoon. As it widened, blinding white light poured from within. "Superman!" came shouts from the reporters. "Is he alive? Anybody see anything? Can we have an exclusive statement?" This was more than Lois could bear. Over the years working as a reporter, she had developed a tough-edged exterior to shield herself from some of the terrible things she had to cover. And at times, she might even have been a bit overbearing or insensitive for the sake of a story. But the headline-hungry pack, each trying to outdo the other in the face of the danger and uncertainty now confronting Superman, went beyond the limits of reasonable behavior. "Will you please all back away?" she shouted at her colleagues. "Why?" cried a TV reporter, emboldened by the excitement. He lowered his shoulder and pushed forward. "So you can get an exclusive?" Whoosh! "No," replied the Flash, who appeared suddenly, stopping the reporter's advance. "Because Superman might need a little space. Whatever shape he's in... Might need a little space, whatever shape he's in, when he comes out of that thing. But..." "The lady said back," Batman snapped, joining his Justice League partner and holding the crowd at bay. Lois turned to the cocoon, her heart pounding in her chest. Will he be all right? She wondered. Will he still be Superman? A pair of hands from within gripped the sides of the crevice, tearing the cocoon in half. Then a figure emerged, coming forward, surrounded by streams of crackling energy, as if lightning were outlining his massive physique. "Look!" shouted a reporter. "Is that supposed to be Superman?" Lois Lane could only stare at the figure of Superman, who looked out blankly at the commotion before him. Something indeed was different. Every inch of his body, his skin, his hair, his costume and cape, had taken on a shimmering golden hue, as if he had fallen into a vat of gold paint. Superman glanced down at his glowing hands. He looked up at the reporters, fear and confusion apparent in his eyes. All right, so that's the end of chapter 6. We're told that it ends at dawn of the second day, so that's the last note to put in. ends at dawn of the second day. Okay, so there's the notes. What are you guys doing? Okay, seriously. By now, Lois would find it odd Clark wasn't at the event where there were tons of reporters. Yeah, I definitely just said that. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Like, there have definitely been times that she's tried to like best Clark out of a byline. So maybe like that's why she didn't contact him. Maybe off screen. She contacted Perry and was like, "I've got this covered for the Daily Planet. Don't send anyone else down here." But I don't know. It's explainable, but it is pretty dumb because they're like the top two reporters, so he doesn't really have to be there. Boy, this book really makes journalists look like garbage. The failing Daily Planet, fake news, all that kind of stuff. This book is anti-press. Yeah. Super Saiyan Superman 1 million, or whatever he's called. Wait, is Golden Superman a thing? Hold on, Golden Superman. I've got a hangnail, and it's no fun. Golden Superman, vast energy absorption powers. Superman Prime remained in the Earth's sun for 15,000 years. Is the Golden Superman canon, and what were his exact powers? So yeah, Superman 1 million. Okay, yeah, that's what it's saying. That's interesting. Huh. I don't think I've ever read Superman 1 million or whatever story it was that he was in. Superman Prime. Wasn't Superman Prime part of the Superman Reborn? Is that the same thing? Because it's like on DC Database, it's got Kal-El DC 1 million, and then on the page itself it says Superman Prime. I don't know. Superman is now the ultimate life form. How many comics have Ted read? Oh God, I wish I knew. Ted's read a lot more comics than I have. Anytime I have like a comic book question of like, "Hey Ted, can you explain why things work like this?" He usually knows right off the top of his head. I like how weird this book has been. It's literally 60% just stalling for time. It really is. It's like the two chapters from last time were all just fights that had no stakes at all. These two chapters definitely had a lot more story to them, but it is definitely an exercise in stalling for time. I want to see a story where Superman falls into a vat of golden paint. We could get like Superman is Jack Ryder. There we go. That's what happened. Superman's the yellow skin wacky man. That's what's going on. Well, what time is it? It is 5:12. I think. Let me see. I think I do need to get stepping because we are about to record Vanishing Point. James and I both just went to see Dark Phoenix. Ted saw it a little bit ago, and so we're going to talk about that. I'm not going to spoil too much of my thoughts here, but it was a movie. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and go. It seems like things are winding down in the chat anyway. So I will be I think I might have a night job starting next week. I said that last week too, but like I just got a text while I was in Dark Phoenix asking when I can start back up. So I don't know if the next one of these will be next Wednesday per se, but I'll see what's going on, and I will update on either Twitter or Discord or both. I might even, if I need to update, I'll put something here. So for now, have I read The Green Lantern? I'm reading the current run, the Grant Morrison run that's going on. It's fun so far. But yeah, so I will. I'll keep you guys up to date on Twitter. If you don't follow me, it's at Mattie Washburn, or Discord.
which you can find the link to that in like all of the Watchtower Database videos in the description box. If anything drastic does change, I'll just post like a real quick update here. But for now, let's plan for next Wednesday at 4 o'clock. We will be going over, you know what? We've got chapter 7, 8, 9, and an epilogue. I don't know. We might wait, are there 9 chapters or is it just 7 and 8? Okay, yeah, so there's 7, 8, 9, and an epilogue. We might go over all of it. Then because the epilogue is going to be short, and so it's not going to be a lot to do on the week after. But we'll see. We'll see how things are going, what my schedule is, all of that. I might even because I'm thinking about doing these twice a week now if I can. So we might just do the next one on Saturday. Because I don't have my night class or not my night class, but my Saturday class anymore. So we might do it on Saturday and just speed through the rest of the book, get it done, and start the next book whenever I figure out what my schedule is. But like I said, I'll keep you guys updated. Twitter, Discord, here, But yeah, so that's it. Do I drink tea with milk and sugar? I used to drink tea with milk. I don't anymore. I do. I'm from the South, so tea with sugar is definitely a thing that I do. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, get out of here. You guys have a wonderful night. Stay tuned for Monday to hear our thoughts on Dark Phoenix. All right, love you faces. Bye.